In this video, we are going to show you some rare photos of Helen Mirren while telling some of her untold life stories. Helen Mirren has had one of the greatest careers in Hollywood history. But did you know that right at the peak of her career, she almost lost everything due to a beef with Queen Elizabeth II? What exactly about Helen's background gave her such contempt for the crown? And how did she come to befriend the Queen later on in spite of it? Let's find out while showing you some of her rare photos. Helen Mirren carries herself like royalty, so much so that she's attracted a lot of roles where she plays princesses and queens. This is partly due to her talent as an actress. But what many fans don't know is that she's indeed descended from aristocracy. From her mother's side of the family, there's nothing really of note. That lady, Kathleen Kitty Alexandrina Eva Matilda, was descended from a butcher who was descended from a butcher who cut up meat for Queen Victoria of Great Britain. Other than that, she was a working-class woman from West Ham, one who married a Russian exile with a much more notable lineage. If you had met Helen Mirren's father, Vasily Petrovich Mironov, in his adult years, you would have assumed he was just a random Russian immigrant. However, nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, he was a Russian aristocrat in exile, one who was descended from notable figures in Russian history. From her father's side, Helen Mirren's great-great-great-great-grandfather was Mikhail Kamensky, a Russian field marshal who faced off against Napoleon. Her great-grandmother was Lydia Andreevna Kamenskaya, a Russian countess. Her grandfather, Pyotr Vasilievich Mironov, was a Russian aristocrat as well as a colonel in the Russian Imperial Army. As a rich man who owned lots of property, life was pretty good for him. Then, the Russian Revolution hit, stranding him and his family. To avoid imprisonment or death, he converted into a diplomat who negotiated with the British. When all was said and done, he relocated to England with his 2-year-old son. The only way he could support his family was to work as a cab driver. Even though Helen's family had such a storied past, she had a pretty standard childhood. After her father changed their family name from Mironov to Mirren, he sought to integrate into regular English society. Mirren attended Hamlet Court Primary School in Westcliff-on-Sea. There she played the lead role in the school production of Hansel and Gretel. This greatly fostered her interest in drama, an interest that was sustained right up until she graduated secondary school. Playing it safe, Helen attended a teaching college. However, when she saw a local production of Hamlet at age 18, she was seduced by a potential career in drama and auditioned for the National Youth Theater. Naturally, she passed. Just 2 years after joining the theater, she won the role of Cleopatra in the NYT production of Antony and Cleopatra. In her own words, "This was the role that launched my career." True to that statement, she signed with agent Al Parker not long after that. After gaining representation by Al Parker, the world opened up for Helen Mirren. Throughout the 60s, her main focus remained the theatrical stage. However, the screen came calling as well. As such, she split her time skillfully between the two mediums. She appeared in stage productions of All's Well That Ends Well As You Like It and The Two Gentlemen of Verona. She also appeared in the movies Press for Time, Hero Stratus, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Age of Consent. While her stage roles were a bit more substantial than her movie roles, she attended to both diligently. Now at this stage, Helen was not exactly starving of roles. However, she wasn't quite getting the material she was dreaming of. These were either small or irrelevant parts, and she knew her talent deserved better. In her frustration, she visited a palm reader, wondering if there were better times ahead. The encounter was a frustrating one, as he meticulously made her write down his every word. The moment she left his presence, she threw the divinations away. She decided then and there to embrace life's adventures, rather than try to gain some kind of spiritual advantage. Throughout the 70s, Helen's career was more of the same. But then, when the 80s hit, she finally found her breakthrough role on the screen. In a movie titled The Long Good Friday, she played the role of a mob boss's shrewd wife, helping him navigate through a crisis. Starring Bob Hoskins, the movie was a worldwide success that skyrocketed Helen's career. Interestingly, her father died the year the movie came out. He would not live to see his little girl become the international powerhouse we know her to be today. From that point onward, Helen ascended to a new level. This reflected not just in her professional life, but in her personal life as well. She started dating Irish actor Liam Neeson. They met while working together on the movie Excalibur. At that point, Liam was not as well established in the industry as Helen was. As a matter of fact, Neeson himself admitted that Helen helped him get an agent and launch his career proper. With great success for Helen also came great challenges. Right as her career was taking off, she got into heavy cocaine use. At parties, she indiscriminately snorted the white junk into her nose, right up until she read a very shocking fact. When Helen learned that Klaus Barbie, a Nazi torturer known as the Butcher of Lyon, had made most of his money from cocaine, she stopped abusing the hard drug instantly. For her, lining the pockets of such an evil man was not worth the highs of addiction. From the age of 40, when many actresses of the previous generation would be considered damaged goods, Helen started getting her most interesting material. Even though she would come to have so many iconic movie roles, there's a definitive TV role that everyone knows her by. Launched in 1990, Prime Suspect was a police procedural television series created by Linda LaPlante. Helen Mirren played the role of Yanni Tennyson, one of the first female detective chief inspectors in Greater London's Metropolitan Police Service. This was quite a substantial role, as the character was not just concerned with fighting crime, but with fighting institutionalized sexism as well. For this role, Helen won her first Primetime Emmy Award. She would come to win another for the biographical TV film The Passion of Ayn Rand. One of the most important roles in Helen's life was in the movie The Queen. In the 2006 biographical drama, she was to play the role of Queen Elizabeth II. The movie, directed by Stephen Frears, dramatized the atmosphere within the royal family in the period following Princess Diana's tragic death. Although this was a very interesting role, Helen was conflicted as to if she should play it. On the one hand, she was descended from aristocracy herself and would have no trouble tapping into that aspect of her history. On the other hand, her father had raised her to be firmly anti-monarchist. Recalling her philosophy of following life's adventures, Helen decided to take a chance on the role. This was one of the best decisions she ever made. Months later, she won an Oscar for her performance. In fact, the Queen herself was so impressed that she invited her over for dinner at Buckingham Palace. In a twist nobody expected, Helen declined this offer, stating that she had prior Hollywood commitments. What a stir this caused at the time. People felt this was a direct insult to Her Majesty. After all, who declines a summons from the monarch? In fact, a senior palace official went on record stating that it was unprecedented to be rejected in this way. This caused Helen to make a formal apology. Even so, some still think Helen rebuffed the Queen on purpose. Interestingly, Helen did end up meeting the Queen much later. The two met for a lovely cup of tea in England. However, during their time together, the film was never mentioned. This is made all the more funny by the fact that Helen played the Queen 5 more times in her film career. As Helen gets older and older, the number of roles available to her keeps shrinking. Even so, she refuses to be shooed out by the industry. Taking matters into her own hands, her career is still as healthy as it has ever been. As a matter of fact, in the year 2023, she appeared in no less than 6 movies. This included such blockbusters as Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Fast X, and Barbie. At 78 years old, Helen Mirren stands as a shining example to people worldwide. An example that even though you get older, you can still continue to work at your very best. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.